Hello, 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 and welcome to the Joy of Connection. So glad you could join me tonight. And we're continuing with the theme this week of talking about things that we don't really want to talk about, but that we should talk about. And we're going to talk a little bit about something that's very close to my heart, very dear to me, very personal to me. And I have a wonderful guest that I'm going to be speaking with. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about one of the things that happens to some of our family members as we age, as we get older. We're going to be talking about the topic of dementia and Alzheimer's. And I have a wonderful guest who, like myself, spent quite some time taking care of her mother as I did with mine, and learning how to deal and cope with it. And it was really important for me to have this dialogue tonight because I felt that, or I feel that many people may see signs of it around them, or they've heard things about dementia, or they know somebody's grandmother that has it, or they've just heard about it, but they not really had any real life experiences themselves. And in some ways that's great. But in some ways, if we have a bit of education, if we have a bit of understanding around it, if we know what the signs are to look out for, if we understand how we might need to cope with it, perhaps the fear that many of us have that surrounds us with dementia, perhaps that fear would be lessened by understanding. Because, education is everything. Learning and understanding helps you to cope with many things. So, a lot of us struggle with fear of the unknown. And I think that's one of the things with dementia. It's about not knowing what it is. And so, what I wanted to do tonight, instead of talking about just, all the negative things that happen and how bad it is and all the things that you read about and hear about and worry about, I wanted to talk about some of the joys that we experience with dementia, because within some of that sadness is quite a bit of joy at times and quite a bit of humor. So tonight I wanted to bring my guest on, Angela Clarke, and we're going to have a quick chat about it. Well, not a quick chat, I think a deep conversation about it. So I'm bringing from the green room, Angela Clarke. Hi, Angie. How
Hi,
are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Great. And thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. I know we've been trying to connect to have this conversation and we're changing dates and yada, yada, yada. But here we are. And that's what's most important. We're here. So I'll start with my famous first question, which is tell us where you're from and tell us where you live. Tell the audience.
Okay, well, my parents are both Barbadian, so I'm Barbadian descent, and currently I live in Coventry in the Midlands.
Okay, all right. And and for those of you that are listening from the States, the Coventry is in the middle of England, in the Midlands. So that's why we use that term. And Angie, can you tell us a little bit about how we met? Do you remember that? How we connected?
Wow,
'Cause this is about the joy of connection.
it is, you're absolutely right. Well, I put on an event for business owners once a year, and I remembered you being at the evening event, and being introduced to you and connecting with you. And then I found out about you and your business and said, "Do you want to come and join us?" And you
That's
said yes,
right.
basically. Yeah.
That's
But
right.
we didn't know each other before that time. You came along with someone to the ball, and that's where we met. And we just
Yeah.
connected, which is usually
Actually,
the
I
case.
think we met before that. I don't think if you
Did
remember that.
we?
Well, not physically, verbally.
Yes. 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 That's
So
right.
we were introduced by Carmen.
That's right.
And we
Yes.
had a great conversation, and
Yes.
as you said happened. You invited me to the ball, and we'll talk a bit more about that because I'd love for the audience to know a bit more about what Teams does and what a wonderful um, entrepreneur you are, and what a great, yeah, you're an entrepreneur. You don't consider yourself that, but and you too are a connector, like myself, and you're amazing at it, and you've built a wonderful tribe of of people that are specialists, that are good at what they do, that hone their craft, and you support them and lift them up. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about you, Angie, is that I don't even think you're aware of your power I don't think you're aware of how savvy you are. I know you didn't think I was going to say any of this, but you know,
No,
it has to be said.
no, I'm going to have you after. But yeah.
Yeah, you're very savvy. But I think what most of us love about you in teams is everything that you do comes from the heart. And it's a really special place because most people are doing whatever they're doing for money, whether it's because I need to eat, whether it's because I want to make money, whatever the reason is. But I have always felt that you've done it coming from a position of love, of loving your people, wanting to give your people a platform that they can share and expand and grow, really. So we'll talk a bit more about teams, but I just wanted to give that little intro because I think it's really nice for people to know what a wonderful and beautiful, I'm going to say, human being that you are. It's not even just about being a woman, a human being. You're a great mother, you're a great friend, you're a great colleague. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of people in a few minutes typing in, going, yeah, 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 let me add my 2 cents, let me add my 2 cents.
Oh my word.
Yeah, so just so you know, Angie, this is live, so people do comment during the show, and we love that. So I might pause in between and bring some questions to you from the audience. So just be aware that that may happen.
Oh no,
So
thank you.
because Joy Spot, which is my coaching company, is about self-love and self-care, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about, well, a question. So I think I wrote it down. I don't even have it in front of me, but I'll go back to my mental list. You run a business, you took care of your mum full time, part time, then full time. You have a daughter that has a disability, is that correct term?
Yes.
Disability. You have a son, you have a granddaughter,
Son.
grandson, excuse me, your family, and then you have the family, extended family of teams. How do you do it? Okay, I know you're balancing it all and you're doing it right, great, but what do you do for Angie for some self-love and some self-care?
I think during the lockdown, I
Mm,
found that we opened up the room within the Teams Global Zoom room, let's say, and
okay,
that was an opportunity to meet. And I got to know people that way. And I think that alone, connecting with other people, finding out how they're getting on, is great for me. It's a real relaxant for me. But outside of that, I love a good party.
okay,
I love going to spas and things like that and having my time out. And I'm always in the garden as well. I like gardening, and I tend to spend a lot of time trying to ground myself as well. And I have some great people around me. When I'm ready, I can pick the phone up and I can talk to you. Uh,
yeah,
you know, and there are other great souls around me. And it then comes to this term Ubuntu, which is I am who I am because of who you are. I'm around a beautiful tribe of people. So that's what I do really. I and I enjoy talking to people.
yes.
I
You
do
do.
enjoy talking to people. I do.
I
You know about that one.
do because I have the same um, speciality, let's call it.
It's your
Yeah.
speciality.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, yeah, we come up with something good for that. So, Angie, one of the things you just talked about that I thought is really important is your love of going out and dancing and hearing good music. Now, one of the things that we share that a lot of people may not know, and I don't know if you remember this, but we love neo soul. And I remember when you told me that you were going to see Rashawn Patterson, and I was like, ah, and I couldn't go. I can't remember why I didn't go or why I couldn't go, but I didn't go. And for me, that's really deep, soulful music. I would consider it sort of the Motown of the 21st century. I don't know how you would define it, but how did you get into neo soul? Because for me, it's really, really, really soulful, really deep. And before I finished that, I was out with my producer, Ade, and we were talking, and then he sent me some music last night. And when I got the music, it just really touched me because it was who was it? Annie, what's his name? Robeson. What's his first name?
Oh, Eric Robeson. I saw
Eric
him
Robeson. The
I saw
video.
it last year.
You saw it last year. See, I mean, my girl's on it. She doesn't miss it. And it's such a powerful, powerful video called Lessons. And I was so glad that they shared it with me. So it was really, really, really good. And so tell me about how Neo Soul makes you feel. What does it do for you? Because look at your face, you're smiling now.
Yeah, I'm going hot. Do you know, I have to say that I like all genres of music. In my household being brought up, music was always being played. And every Friday was a record shop day. Not for me, but for my uncle and my dad. My dad was always playing music, had a beautiful veneer gram, we used to call it then, a music gram.
Yes,
And,
yes.
you know, we had all the Jim Reeves, all the Patsy Clines, so all the country and western, all the reggae, everything. We had it all. So I grew up on all sorts of different genres of music, everything. And I think I got more into the likes of your neo soul and so forth because I was going out to clubs and I go out a lot on my own, I have to say, and
Good.
just going out to different places and getting used to the music, you
Okay.
know. And I think when you watch how people dance to genres of music, it sort of draws you in. I
Yeah.
don't know about yourself, but it draws you
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, to be honest with you, when you see how people dance and they've got this rhythm to the music and everything, it just blends and it just, oh my goodness, sends me on a high.
I
Really
know.
does.
I
You
love
know,
it. I love it.
one person I went to see was, do you know Donny?
Oh, love Donny. How
I
do you
saw him.
know about
I
Donny?
saw him on Friday.
Atlanta, Georgia. Oh my God. I
This is
mean,
what this is one in England, though. This is Donny in England, right? So
Donny
there's
in
one in
America.
no, there's one here in London who also
Oh,
does DSL, a great guy, and
oh,
he's based in London. And I went to a 50th birthday party last Friday, and he was there
live in person,
performing.
flesh.
Yeah,
Oh, was your jaw dropping, or were you able to keep it up?
I picked it up. That's a good girl.
Oh,
Oh, it was really, really good, really good.
oh, that's great. So, we'll talk more about music because music and dementia are fabulous.
They are.
They go together beautifully, and it's a wonderful tool. And I don't even know if the right word is tool, but we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, in between doing all of these things, I would say your current baby, or I don't know, is your organization Teams Global, is it really still a baby, or is it a toddler now? Like, how would you define it?
Very good way of saying that, actually.
Isn't it?
I
Yeah,
think I'm transitioning, to be
that's
honest.
I've seen that question.
I don't think that we're any. I don't think we're no longer a baby. I think we are toddler, definitely toddler. And um, my mum, she transitioned into her next life. She transitioned on Valentine's Day this year,
Okay,
and that gave me some capacity in order to put my foot a bit more on the pedal to transition Teams Global from baby. It's going through. It's coming out of its nappies.
that's right. So, and for the American audience, the diaper,
Oh,
but
I don't.
but so take us back to how you birthed Teams Global. Why did it come to life? Who were you having sex with that made you decide I'm going to have this baby?
Well, no one I could think of at the time, but anyway, I I got to a place where my background's HR management and
Okay,
human resources, and I was at a place, a charity where they've got a lot of, it's like a horse whispering and all that sort of stuff for people with disabilities, and I was working there for a while, and my mum was starting to worsen where she really needed more support.
okay,
And my daughter needed a little bit of support as well. So I took the decision that I would leave that particular company and spend more time looking after mum. But the way I looked at things as well is I was thinking about going into human resource consultancy. And a friend of mine invited me down to London and asked if I wanted to come to this event, Black Expo event. So, sorry, a business expo event. And as I was walking around, I noticed that there were quite a number of people from the Black community that were walking around, but no one had any stalls. And I just thought, well, this is really strange. And me and my spiritual head, something said to me, you need to do something about this. You really need to push people back up again. I class myself as a light worker and recognize that over time, I'm also a conduit. So I'm forever. And I recognize, when you're going through life, you realize that all these things that you've done as a child and growing up seem to all fit into why, it fits into your future somehow. It's like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
But anyway, I combined the whole lot together and started bringing businesses together by word of mouth. And it started off with me having an exhibition just to start to get people out there. And here we are today, with 60, 70 odd people in the consortium and growing.
Fantastic.
And it's just amazing. And I think, as with any child, you watch it go from baby stage, you see its face start to change as it gets older.
Yes.
And that's what's happening with Teams Global now, because it's no longer in a place where we're just putting people to be promoted out there. It's now about making us busy, savvy business people, and
Yeah.
that is the other half of promoting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where we are now. And I'm growing to meet some fantastic people. I mean, we've got Teams Global Day coming up on the 25th of September.
That's
And
right.
those that, I don't know if anyone's heard of CARICOM, which is the Caribbean Community Network. And we have the marketing director that's actually coming to do a keynote speech on the day. And I'm like, how the,
I didn't, I don't know why you're surprised. I'm not surprised. I may be surprised it didn't happen already, but I'm not surprised. Not with your talent.
Well, probably because I wasn't looking and I didn't have the full focus on that, because I said part of it was looking after my mum and my dad and
Yes.
doing other things. So, but yes, it's almost like the universe is saying to me, now we're here, we can actually give you more space now, because I'm a believer that we're only given what we can bear. And I think that, as I said, having that little bit more capacity has meant now that I can actually say, okay, now I can do this, I can do that, and I can do this. Oh, and there's, and I felt so blessed. This year has been such a blessing, I have to say. And a few weeks ago, I was talking to the owner of Pampensi, which is a big one-stop shop in London, several shops in London that sell all sorts, herbal products, all sorts of different things that they've got in their shops. And then I also had, a few weeks prior to that, another blessing of speaking to Mark Dalgety, who does the Dalgety teas. And I can't believe, I put these people on a pedestal, and here's me talking to these people now. And I'm just really happy with that. So I think they're all going to help me move Teams Global forward.
Yeah, well, you'll be doing that anyway. You have the wings, and they'll be just the wind pushing the wings. The sails will be just going. That's it. For those of you who can't see me, I'm actually flying, but you can't see me.
I can see you.
Well, Angie, I'm so happy that you mentioned Dalgety, because Mark's not the only gifted, talented person in the family. In fact, his sister Eva is live on the show here, and she says hello. Yeah, Eva's saying hello. Going to give you some hellos here. And Gwen is saying hello. She's in Germany and saying hi with her sister Carmen and her brother-in-law Hans. And then we have Teresa on the line. And then Maureen Samuels is saying hi, beautiful ladies. So I think we'll both take that, won't we?
Both of us will take that one. Probably
Yeah.
beautiful lady.
Ah, so good, so good. I just wanted to go back to something that you said, because I didn't want to skip over it because it was really important, but I didn't want to miss it. You talked about being a light worker and being a conduit. For those that may not be familiar with some of this terminology, could you break that down a little bit more, what that means, or at least what it means to you in your work?
What it means to me, a light worker is someone that is here on this earth to bring peace and harmony. And the way that I have molded it into what I believe my purpose is to
Yes.
help people find their light. Who are they? Let's go and explore within you to bring you out with all the talents and what you've been given from birth when you came here. Every
Mm,
single one of us have got something that we can offer this earth to make life better for ourselves, but
absolutely.
directly make that really good for someone else too. So what I do, I'm into analogies. So bear with me while I explain this one.
Mm,
When people are low, they imprison themselves, they cocoon themselves. They want to go and lick their wounds. And sometimes they go so low, they just want to shut themselves off from the world. Now, I won't be there when they go into that prison of theirs. But as soon as they've done all the crying that they want to, and they've taken the decision that I'm now ready to face the world now, I want to, shrug myself off and get up and go again, that's where you'll find me. I will be there with my hand saying, okay, I'm here. What do you want me to do to help you? And people will then grab my hand and I will guide them out of their prison back into their light. And then as they go, I wave them, not goodbye, because we tend to always keep connected. And if they have a bit of a blip, they tend to find me again. But in the meantime, I'm waving to them from afar. That's what happens. So that's all part of the light worker within me. The conduit bit is I find myself constantly connecting people to people, to people, to people. I'm forever doing that. And I've been doing that since, oh goodness, since I was at school. But again, it took me to get to my 50s to look back and think, oh my goodness, I used to do that before. And I
yeah.
realized how important it was. And that's with doing the light working as well. I've actually watched people from all different types of communities, whether they be Asian or Chinese or whatever. I've actually spoken to people and say to them, when they say to me, well, I can't do it. Oh, don't say that to me. So what does that mean? And so I believe myself to be that light worker and that conduit that can connect them with people that will help them to grow. That
Wonderful.
makes sense.
As Eva aptly says, this is brilliant. It's a really big purpose. So it's beautiful, really, really beautiful.
Thank you, Eva.
Um, and in terms of being the conduit, is that part of it as well? Making people go via you to where they need to go?
Yes. Yeah. I tap in a lot to, let's say, the universe,
Yeah.
a higher source out there. I tap into that. I actually, 16 years ago, I was, I moved from one workplace to another and received a call from someone that had gone through a hard time in the workplace. And he rang me to tell me he was going to take his life. And I'm like, I spent 2 hours on the phone with this guy in my work time trying to persuade him not to do it. And thankfully today I can say he's still living. He's got a beautiful
Wow.
family and he's doing so well now. And it's just amazing. It's really, really amazing. And when I left Yorkshire, I was planning to go to Canada. And I said to him, I'm going, he wasn't happy. He says, well, what's going to happen? Because I actually spent about 3 months every evening, go home, sort the children out because they were old enough to be left on their own, and then went to meet him for a coffee so he could talk and vent.
Mhm.
From then on, I sort of slowly, because I didn't want him to get too reliant on me, because I didn't want him then to think that he's going to collapse and go again. So I spent a lot of time with him. And about 3 months or so later, I let him slowly drift away. So when I let him know I was leaving, he wasn't happy at all. But I said to him, listen, for as long as I'm here on this earth, I will send you a message every Sunday. And he went, why are you going to do that? And so that you'll know I'm always thinking about you and I'll always stay connected with you. That was 16 years ago and I still do it now. Wherever I go, I still send, as long as I can get a link, I do it. I just send messages. But the thing is now, with tapping in, I've been told that I couldn't stay at just one person and add that person, add that person. Oh, okay, add that person. That voice telling me, I've now got 300 people that I send that to every Sunday.
So I was going to ask you about that wonderful message that you send out every Sunday. I don't think we all respond but I believe most of us read it. And I read it every Sunday. But when I'm really touched by it is when I respond to you, as I'm sure you know. I'll say, "Oh my God, that was so amazing," or that message was meant for me today. Sometimes you get that. And look, somebody called Action Collective, I don't know who the name is, but says, "Hi,
Oh,
Angie."
hi.
So right, she's a light
Yvonne.
worker in so many
Hi,
ways.
Yvonne.
Okay, thanks, Yvonne. We also send lots of love and peace and energy to you, and we love all those messages that you receive from Spirit. And that was, I was going to ask you, that special message that you send out to all of us. Do you just wake up and it's in your head? Do you sort of think about it the night before? Do you just sit and write and it just, like, how does it happen?
It
How do you?
varies. It varies. It varies. Sometimes I do it midweek, and I can't wait to get it out. I can't wait to get it out because it's the best. And I want to do that sometimes, but most of the time it happens over the weekend. Something will come to me. I'll look at something. Like at the moment, I went to a wedding and did more dancing, but we won't talk about that one. So 3 weeks, three
We
weeks
love that.
today.
It's about
3 weeks
joy. This show is about joy.
Well, it was
Yeah.
beautiful. And I got a beautiful bouquet of flowers. So at the moment, I'm sitting here looking at two beautiful lilies that are just opening. So
Oh,
I could look at that and I could do a message from that. I could easily do a message from that, probably even talking about the life we have is like a flower opening up to show all its petals. And, I could do something from that. So I tend to do that. And that's how I do it, you
so
know.
you write based on what inspires you, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful.
Yes.
And you're so inspiring. So what better person to be doing this?
Thank you. It's lovely.
So, it's good to hear about all of those things. And I think what I was always impressed about is I know what it's like to juggle a really intense job and other things. But I've never had to juggle a job, a mother that was ill, a family member that was disabled, in your case, your daughter, another child, grandchildren along the way, and other family members, your dad, everybody around you. And so I guess I just wanted to talk a little bit about the what do I want to ask you first? I have so many questions to ask you, but I wanted to talk about the lows and the highs of dementia. We have a beautiful message here from Gwen um, about your messages, which is so true. Um, so one of the things I wanted to dispel today was a little bit about the myth. Well, it's not a myth. Dementia can be awful. Let's not say it's not a myth. It's not a myth. It can be awful. It can be one of the worst experiences, but there can be a lot of joy within it. And I know I have many memories with my mom of laughter and music and dancing, which is why when you said music, it just sort of brought all that back together for me. And it was actually my mom's birthday this Monday that passed. And normally I post something and I say something, and I don't know, I kind of just sort of went within instead of I celebrated her one to one. I think that's what happened this time. And so for those of you that are here that have mothers or have had somebody who's mothered you, excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold going on, who have mothered you or anybody who's treated you in a motherly way, you know how important that person is to you. So when you have your mother who suddenly starts appearing differently, or your father, but in this instance, we're just picking out mothers because that's what we have in common here. And I know what were the signs when I started to suspect something was going on for me. But if you're comfortable, please share with us what were some of the signs when you realized something was just not the same, something was changing.
I think my mum started with Alzheimer's. She was a district nurse, my mum. She'd done so well. She'd even been to see the Queen for the NHS. She'd done so
Wow,
well. She was
great.
so amazing, my mum. Um, I I think the first thing was my mum used to love flowers. She loved floristry, and she used to go to the cash and carry and buy loads of flowers and have loads of orders. And I think that I think the time when we started to realize something wasn't right was when she was taking all these orders and then couldn't remember them, or not remember the orders, but, well, yes, she couldn't remember what people had put in, and she used to always have a book where she wrote everything down, but she couldn't remember what she'd done with the book, and that was like so close to her, so we couldn't understand that. So we thought, okay. And then she couldn't remember what she'd written down in the book. She was doing orders, she was going out and getting flowers, and they weren't the right order, and we were like, what's going on? Or she couldn't remember the time it would take to do flowers. So I remember my sister, her two girls, and myself were sometimes up until the early hours of the morning trying to help mum put these flowers together, these arrangements for her, because people were going to come and collect them the next day for funerals, weddings, christenings, whatever. So we had a lot. We did that quite a lot. And I think that was one pointer. And then the other indicator was she started cooking potatoes all of the time. All of the time. And we're like, okay, well, you gave Dad potatoes earlier on today. No, I didn't. And so we realised then that something was not right.
Yeah.
Mum herself felt something wasn't right and went along to the doctors, expecting that they were just going to say she's got a tumour or something. That's what my mum thought.
So
And
she
then,
went on her own accord, or was that with you, your
no,
support?
her own accord. Her own
Okay.
accord.
That's brave.
Because, I have to say, and I haven't met anyone yet who hasn't been around a sufferer that haven't noticed this. They become so clever to distract. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah,
They
and hide
so
every day.
clever. Honestly, they do, don't they? So clever so that they can take the spotlight from themselves, detract it from something else. So that, because bless them, they don't know what's going on. They can't put their finger on it. And so
Yeah.
when they then realize that now they feel like they're under this big brother cosh, then they want to like, okay, beautiful flowers over there, isn't there? They want to take away from them what's going on. And I get that. I get it. But my mum was doing a lot of that as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you mentioned earlier on about some funny things. They were quite comical at times, some of the things that my mum used to do. They were really comical. And we'd say, no, it isn't, Mum. She'd say, oh, yeah. And then we'd laugh and joke. And she was very comical,
Yeah. My mum
So,
would do the
yeah,
same.
I think that was when we first noticed, really,
Yeah.
Um,
My mum's house was always super organized, super neat. She knew where everything was, and she was almost OCD about how clean she kept her house. I'm living in her house now, and I'm sure she was rolling over in her grave in comparison to what it was, because you could literally lick the floor. And I just remembered she would say things like, oh, the cleaning woman came and I think she took money out my drawer. So for me, one of the signs was paranoia,
yes.
was an early sign as well. And I was like, took money out the drawer? You don't even keep money in your drawer. What are you talking about? Because my mum used to always joke, oh, all these people, they put money under the bed and they hide money. Me, I would never do that. And she never did it. She always went to the bank and da. And so when she was talking about somebody taking money, I was thinking, what is she talking about? And then there would be things like I would come to visit her, because at the time I was living in London, and she would say to me, what time are you coming? I said, oh, I'm coming at 4 o'clock, let's say. And then she'd call me at maybe 3 o'clock. Where are you? What time are you coming? What time are you coming? So I'm on my way. You said you were going to be here. I know, I said at 4. Oh, okay. Mum, it's only 3. And I just was thinking, gosh, maybe because I'm not in the States anymore and I'm back, she's getting paranoid. And I just couldn't put two and two together. And I'd lived away from my mother for 30 years. So there were things that I was also excusing, thinking, well, maybe I just don't remember that because I've been away for so long. Maybe I didn't see that, it was all those sort of things. But for me, the telltale was one day she'd said to me, I haven't received the bill for the gas, and I never pay my bills late. I said, really? She said, yep, I've not had a gas bill in months. You haven't had a gas bill in months and they haven't turned the gas off? No, they can't turn the gas off on me. I'm old. Okay. Teresa, so there wasn't about giggling about burnt rice and peas and blaming the pans. Yeah, she burnt rice and peas. It was like, it's these pans. Well, we need to throw them out, and all these kind of things of paranoia. And I just thought, what's going on? And then one day I was in bed with her, talking to her, and she was falling asleep. And I leaned over the bed. She said, "Oh, I can't find. I bought this thing to scratch her back." She kept saying, "I can't reach it," because she was living on her own at that point. And I looked behind the bed to see, if she dropped it behind the bed. And there were letters and letters and envelopes behind the bed. I mean, my mother was a neat freak. So I was in shock, like, what the hell is that? And as soon as she fell asleep, I started going behind them, picking it up, and all the bills she said she never got, that's where they were. So, it's a frightening time in terms of that.
Yeah.
So I guess, were there any other early signs that you also saw?
Yeah, I remember actually. It's amazing when you actually start to talk, you think, oh yeah, I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
remember
Oh,
this.
yeah. Letters did actually start going missing. And people that were sending letters were saying, well, we sent it on this particular day. No, we haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
And we then realised that Mum had been picking up the letters. So we had to sort of get there before she did. Otherwise, we wouldn't know where they were. And, they could be put in all sorts of different places.
And that's what you think about being clever. Not meaning to cut you off, but that was the thing. I mean, things would go hidden and I couldn't figure out where they went. I couldn't find them until much, much later. So that plays in with the cleverness as well. You're just like, okay, this is like a detective game.
That's right. That's right. If she bought something more than what she needed to bring, oh, that's because blah 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 might come round or whatever. There was always a reason for it, but it's more than likely because Mum had forgotten that she already got it. And probably not put it on her shopping list or had lost her shopping list, so went by what she could remember.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, there was just so many funny things. Mum loved doing the gardening again. She loved doing the gardening and stuff, and there were just a number of things that she just did,
Yeah.
And the same things like people have done this, like leaving the stove on and things like that, and
that's
done that. Also, food burning.
Was the
thing. That was a key thing. And I think not necessarily forgetting things, but the one thing that I will always remember is taking my mum around the supermarkets, and she used to frighten me sometimes because they say things and it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh,
my mum, somebody that they were really fat in the supermarket, and I was just like, I can't believe she just said that. Good thing she said it with a Jamaican accent, so I'm not quite sure they understood. What are we are, Batty Biggie? Okay.
Oh my gosh. Wow. She had a thing about, and she'd only do it to children. She'd do it to her own grandchildren as well. They'd come into the house and she'll say, what are you doing? Come on, sit down. Sit down. She'd keep telling people. It's like she knew that she was in this commanding position, but she wouldn't do that with an adult. But the worst part about it is I used to take Mum shopping with me all the time. So many people got to know her, and I'd take her to the shops she used to be, she used to go before she was unwell. And I'm not kidding you. It was, oh goodness, sometimes it was so scary of what I would be experiencing when I take her in there. Sometimes she was so well behaved, but the other times it was like, oh gosh, bury me now. It really was scary. She would go up. You know how you get little children running around the aisles and stuff.
Yes.
And their parents or guardians or whomever they're with is around somewhere, but these little children are running all over the place, or they're touching something. What are you doing touching that? Leave it alone. It ain't yours. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And the little child's looking, and I'm thinking the mother's going to, or father's going to come along in a minute. But my mum did that a lot. She did that a lot. We'd go up all these different aisles and she'd be telling the children to behave themselves, and not low voiced either.
Yeah.
She did that so much. And I think she got to a point where we're going down here, Mum. No, I'm not going down there. Oh, Yeah, but come on, though. Come on, Mum. Come on. You've got to go down here. Come and hold a trolley for me. I don't want to hold a trolley. Oh, right. Okay. And my mum was never like that, you know.
Oh,
She
I
was
know.
never like that. But she got this side to her that made you think, where's that woman come from? Where's my mum? You know, because my mum she's such a
Yeah.
kind-hearted soul.
I always felt that that was their one form of control. You know,
Yes.
they couldn't control certain parts of the behavior, but that's one aspect of putting your foot down. I remember my mom saying, I said I was going to do something, and she was like, "You're not doing this in my house." Was slamming the table, and I was sort of like, "Okay." And I don't really remember what it was. It wasn't anything big, but I remember the slamming of the hand on the table, being really, really angry. And my partner, Roberta, just sort of saying, "Okay, Mama, you know, I'm going to play some music for you. We're going to dance." And then he took me in the other room, gave me a drink, and was like, "Just relax." I'll, you know, because it was the situation was getting bigger and bigger, and you know, I was screaming and she was screaming, and then he was like, "Okay, okay, okay." Because sometimes I don't know about you, but sometimes I would just be overwhelmed. I think was what it was. I didn't, you know, because you don't know if you're doing something right, you don't know if you're doing something wrong. There were a lot of things that I had to learn literally on the spot, on the fly. I don't, I mean, I did read some things, but a lot of things, one of the things that I found with dementia is that it's very personal in the sense that different people have different reactions, have different, what's the right word? Different behaviors, um, maybe based on where it is in the brain that's affecting them. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Because I remember once my mom, just telling you a funny story. She was in the hospital and I went to visit her, and there was a woman 2 beds away, and her husband would come and visit, and as soon as he'd leave, she'd just keep repeating, which is the thing that most people think about dementia, right? The repetition of questions, and she'd say, "Where's Jeff? Jeff, where's Jeff? Jeff, where's Jeff? And she'd just keep saying it over and over again. And there was another woman that would keep telling stories about when she was a child and when they took her away in the war, and just over and over again. But this woman that kept saying, you know, "Where's Jeff? Jeff, where are you? Jeff, come back. Where's Jeff?" And my mum one day said, "Just shut up your mouth now." Yeah. And I just laughed, you know, I just thought, oh God, you know,
Oh dear.
bullied, you know, my mum would never say anything like that, ever, ever, you know. But and also she became more Jamaican as it went along. I don't know if that happened with your mum, if she became more Bajan. And no, my mum became, you know, she was always very sort of, oh, you know, a bit speaky spokey, but no, that all went out the window.
No, my mum didn't do that actually.
Yeah,
She
so
just
these things
she
very,
remained who she was.
yeah,
Yeah, she just remained who she was in that respect. But my mum, she believed that we had to be, whether we we're in the house or out the house, we had to be respectable. And so yeah, if she needed to pick us up on anything, she would do that. But you
yes,
know, I think she didn't really address us as much as the younger ones. And when I say younger ones, I'm on about those that were 8 and under.
mm,
She seemed to really, you know, and the children would look and think, but we didn't do anything, you know, and we'd have to then calm down and say, oh, Nanny's not well, or Grand's not well.
yeah,
I remember doing that with my grandson. Um, I remember doing it with grandson, and he came up to me one day, went because every Friday I used to look after him, and then take him over to my mum and dad's every Friday, so I could stay there and look after mum. And he said to me on one occasion, "So Gran isn't right today, then?" I said, "No." And he went to and he stroked my mum's forehead, and he went, "All right, Gran, you'll be better tomorrow." And he
oh,
stood there, and I'm like, "Oh, he was only about 3, 4." And
wow,
and so he's known my mum mainly from having Alzheimer's.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, he's known that. So
My
yeah,
combo as well. So, you know, for those who are watching tonight that, you know a little bit about it, or maybe walking in our shoes now already in the depths of it, or are concerned that they're seeing signs, but they don't really know if it is or if it isn't, what would be some not just coping strategies, but what would you share with them that they should do at this point if they suspect something may be going on, but they're not really sure? Do you have any tips?
I would just say monitor it, because, and one of the things I learned was there are different types of dementia.
That's the thing.
And so no one thing fits all. There are
That's right.
different types. Um, I would definitely monitor it. Start journaling. I think that would really be helpful, because if you're not with that sufferer all the time, you don't know.
Exactly.
Um, get used to knowing that they may pick things up and lose them. So don't expect that they'll remember them, especially important things like letters, for instance. Just keep an eye. One of the things I also found out, there are a few things. Dementia apparently lasts 10 years. Alzheimer's does, which is what my mum had, which sits under dementia. And I didn't realize it lasts 10 years. And my mum was diagnosed 10 years ago this year,
Okay.
right? Apparently, men, they struggle with coping with it all, and they go downhill very fast. They don't generally get past 5 years, apparently. And
Okay.
some women are like that. Also, to note, dementia doesn't just happen in people that are elderly.
That's right.
There are people that I've been made aware of, not that I know, but I've been made aware of in their late 40s,
Yeah.
have found out they've got dementia, you
Yeah.
know. And because people haven't associated it with a more youthful age, they think, oh, it can't be that, but it can be that, you
Yeah.
know.
Absolutely.
I don't know what triggers it. I really don't know what triggers it, but I would definitely say keep an eye all the time. Keep an eye.
Yeah.
You know, it's difficult because I've spoken to one or two other individuals, and I don't know what tests they do in America, but I don't agree with the tests that they do here. They ask questions like, "What year are we in? What's the date today?" and stuff like that, and they diagnose by the responses, and they're the same questions every time that they ask. I'm surprised that with regards to the movement and improvement of different things that they can use to experiment with, I'm surprised that they still use that. I think it's an antiquated system of asking them that, you know.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because in my case, and I remember being horrified when they were asking those same questions of my mum. By the way, I had to go to my mum's doctor and ask him if he would see her, and he was like, we can't do that. It has to come from her. Da 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 da. And I was like, look, you know my mum. You've been her doctor for 30 something years. I don't live with her every day, and I can tell you that something is wrong. Can we not just make up an excuse and you just throw in some questions? I just want you to see what I'm seeing. And I broke it down to him, and he finally said, okay. I said, look, I'm just going to book her in for a knee appointment. She have an issue with the knee, and then she'll come along, and then you can just ask her some questions. How about that? And he really didn't want to agree to it, but he did. And while we're there, he asked those rudimentary questions. He said, oh, as we get older, we forget things. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions. And he asked her, how many children she had. She said 3. What were their names? She said the names. He said, how old are they? And she wasn't sure. That was the first time. She was like, and she kind of threw some numbers out, but she wasn't sure. And then he said, okay, I mean, they may not remember you. And I didn't think it was such a big deal. I just thought, okay. And then he asked her, do we have a king or a queen? And she said, I don't know. So for me, that was really telling. That was when my heart jumped out of my throat, really.
And she didn't know.
Oh my God. I mean, because everybody knows that we have a queen.
Yeah.
So that was really telling for me. And then we went for further observation, and they asked her to draw a clock and the time. And they gave her different times on the clock to write, and she couldn't do it. She could barely do the face. And I think she did the 12 and maybe 1 or 2 of the other numbers, and that was it. And that's when my heart really broke, because I knew that it was serious at that point. So, and in terms of medication, do you think any of the medication works? I mean, I personally felt like
Definitely.
I didn't do anything. It did for you?
I think so. We were given this tablet. where I can't remember the grams, but it increased, and it slowed down the
The
memory
progression.
loss. It did. It slowed down the memory loss. So yeah, that's what we use. And she went to I can't remember what the highest one was now. Whatever the highest gram was that we had in that tablet, she was on that for a long time. And
Okay.
I think, I don't know, I'd never know, I suppose. I'm actually wondering whether they just continued giving it to us because it was comforting us as well to feel that she was having something that was stopping
Yeah.
that.
So,
And I know that one doctor had said, because she was actually having she was having an assessment once a year. And I remember the doctor saying, we can't give her anything else after this. So I don't expect that I don't expect she'll be taking anything next year. But right up to the end, we were given a tablet. So whether, as I said, they were just continuing it with comfort, but it done its bit, you know. But one of the things that I gave my mum, you do some research, and I used to give my mum coconut water.
yeah, coconut water, coconut oil. My mum wouldn't
I
take
used
it.
oil. She wouldn't take it.
She wouldn't take it. She
Oh,
wouldn't take it. She's like, what is that? I don't want
oh,
that.
really? See, I use coconut oil. I use coconut oil and coconut cream, and then I bought the brown, the brown coconut, and got the water out of it. Poured the water out and let her drink it. She
You mean
loved
the
it.
whole coconut when you say the brown
Whole
coconut?
coconut, yeah, the whole brown coconut. Well, you can get green coconut, can't you? Because I got the green as well. I used to get the green for her.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so I used to get the green for her as well. And the water in it did the world of good.
Oh,
Did a world of good for her. I think that helped to prolong as well.
okay.
Keep it at bay. So it's not easy really. It's
No,
not.
it's not easy. I mean, I looked after my mum. I ended up quitting my job and moving in and taking care of her full time. And yeah, that was a job and a half. I can only tell you. And I didn't do it as long as you did, so I can only imagine. Um, Another question I wanted to ask you while it's on my mind: did you get any good medical support or support in general around her condition? Because I had the most amazing social worker that really helped me because I hadn't been in the UK for over 30 years. I didn't know where to begin. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know where to go. I had no clue. I didn't know about forms. I hadn't been to the doctors really. I had no idea. And she was amazing and really helped me meander the whole system and got me things. And when my mum needed support to walk, I remember, here's a funny story. I remember we got her one of those Zimmer frames, and she was like, "I'm not using that," and threw it down. Told her, "Take it back," and she wouldn't use it. Never used it. There were a lot
No,
of things that she made me laugh about. She was like, I'm not using that. I'm not doing that." But yeah, she was very adamant about a lot of things.
that's good. That's because they're fighting for their independence.
Absolutely, I
And I've
love
seen
it.
so many people, elderly people, that have been very independent. They know their minds, they know what they want to do, and then the family says, "No, you can't do that anymore," or "You've got to do this," and that really upsets them.
Yeah,
And I think we've got to, again, through this process, always continue to respect them. You know,
absolutely, absolutely.
I slept over at mum and dad's 2-3 nights a week when the last 3 years. Um, to give that a break because it would have meant him having to stay downstairs every night because mum went into hospital at one point, and she was in for 2 weeks, and when she came back home she was like a zombie. So we made mum and dad's front room her bedroom,
Yeah,
right? So we had a hospital bed. And so going on to the question you asked, when she went into hospital and came out, they arranged for a hospital bed, commode,
everything.
Zimmer frame, a table, the bed tables, anything you could think of. And what they also did was arrange for carers to come in for 2 weeks. I think that's a standard thing they do here.
Okay,
Um, and they came in for 2 weeks, and we had 2 weeks in which to find a carer's service if it wasn't that same company to come in. So the carers we had through the companies that we use, there were two companies. They said that they have certain people that are specialists in clients or patients that have dementia. And what I loved with what the two agencies did was they kept the same group of people. They got to know my mom. They got to know Dad and I. They got
Very
to know the
cool.
members of my family. And I think that was so instrumental in making all of us feel at ease. You know, um, it really, really worked well. I remember washing my mum from top to toe. I gave her a full bed bath. And
Yeah,
then when I finished, I didn't put lipstick on her, but I made sure I put perfume on her. She was moisturized from head to toe, everything. Because at the end of the day, while she wasn't fully compos mentis, she's still a woman.
that's right. And that was really important to me
She's
to
a
make
woman.
sure my mum still wore her jewelry, got her hair done. Oh, that was the other thing. My mum, we always nails and hair, always. And I remember taking her to get her nails well, I was getting my nails done and she was only getting her hands done. And she was angry. She was like, "Well, why are you getting your feet done? I'm not getting my feet done." It's like, "Oh,
Oh,
that's not your week." No, no, no. And it was to the point where the lady said, "Okay, I'll just do a quick something." Always. And I think that's really important. So,
yeah.
Angie, we could talk about this for 2 hours, but we have to wrap it up. We're almost at the end
Already?
of the show. So I just wanted to mention a couple of things I thought was important. I want to see if you want to share them. For me, I just wanted to say there are three things that I think are really important to observe or continue to do. It goes in with what you've just said, in line with what you just said. If you have a family member that has dementia, Alzheimer's, three things that I think are really important are, oh, excuse me, oh, on camera too, nose running. Excuse
It's all right. It's coming out. Let alone its freedom.
me. Maintaining dignity is one. Being inclusive, and what I mean by that is I would find that people would come over and they'd talk and they'd have this conversation with me as if she wasn't there. And the person's not invisible, they're there. So even if they don't respond, including them in the conversation is so important, I think. So, being inclusive in that way. And what was the third one? And continuity. I don't know if that's the right word, but one of the mistakes that I made was my sister and I decided that we were going to take my mum to the States because I had to move back for a year to work. And I wanted to thank you. We're both great daughters to our mothers. And I wanted my mum to be observed by my sister while I was working for 9 months in the States. So I moved back to the States in 2016 for almost a year. And that was actually a really bad move because she lost her sense of place. I think that made her even more confused. I think she went downhill further and more rapidly because of that, because she thought she'd just been plucked out of her house.
Mhm.
And so that continuity of sameness, for want of a better term, the same way they make the bed every day, the same slippers they wear every morning, that routine, the routine is really important and not changing that. So those were some things that I found that I think are really important. And for anybody who may be going through this and may not want to talk about it or say it, those are really key things for me. Do you have any key things that are either the same or slightly different that you'd like to
Yeah,
share?
I agree with you, fully agree with you. Um, I think one of the things you said earlier on was singing. There's been research shown that people, they may not remember a lot of other things, but you start singing a song to them,
That's
they're
right.
off. They're off. There's something about that connects them. And
Yeah.
so my mum loved gospel. So we were always playing gospel reggae, gospel country, whatever we play. And every day I would sing some hymns and songs with mum. And she'd get my hands and we'd be there dancing in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Make things fun for them as well. Because,
Yeah.
they're struggling already.
Yeah.
But they can't put their finger on it. But then to have actually think, well, I need to protect myself because I can't let that person see that I really don't know what I'm doing. You can see their heads going round, the coils going round, thinking, what the heck's going on here? So work with them.
Oh,
They will say things because they think that they will think that you're making them feel like a liar. So what you
yeah.
do is you say to them, you have to, don't tell them no, you can't do that, and don't tell them no, that's wrong, because they don't know, and they will get retaliate, and they'll get upset, and that's very, very easy for them to do. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Find what they used to like doing, right? Because everybody, all of them, go back to a certain time in their life, not necessarily the same time. I know there was one lady, she's gone now. She went right back to having her babies. So they actually had to go and buy a special doll for her. And she used to sit there and cuddle cuddle and cradle this doll all the time. So find things that will help them to remember. It will slowly go, but the more you feed to them, the more it will help them. And I
Yes.
know that this same lady that had the doll, her family got together and made a quilt with all different parts of their life in it. So when she used to carry it around on her, it would help her to remember.
Yes.
So find out, don't, as you rightly said, don't exclude them, and don't let people come and make them feel excluded.
Absolutely.
Just say, what do you think, Mum? What do you think,
Yeah.
Dad?
Yeah. Whether they respond or not.
Make them feel that they're part of it. They may tell us, oh, well, what do you think? I think this. What do you think? Do that. Make them feel that they're still part of
The family, part of life.
Family. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to do that. So that's my view.
That's wonderful.
Walk,
Wonderful. Well, Angie, I mean, there's so many topics we could talk about, and to be honest, I'm going to bring you back to talk about some other things. But today, I just wanted to talk about it, and in fact, it's just in line with the fact that it was my mom's birthday this week. So I feel like you've honored her and you've honored your mother, and we've been fortunate to have beautiful mothers in our lives. There are many people that haven't had that. So I feel really blessed, and I feel really blessed to have met you, to know you, and to have you as part of my inner circle. So thank you so much for sharing your time and being your purposeful self, and being the wonderful light worker that you are.
Thank you. That's so lovely. Can I just say one more point to everybody?
Yes.
In Coventry, where I live, and I guess it's right across the country here in the UK, they do have carers courses, and you get insight, or they have carers courses, Alzheimer's courses. You get to find out more about Alzheimer's and how other carers are coming, and they bring their stories about their families, their sufferers too. Very, very interesting. Go on it if you can, because it's very interesting. Ours was a 6-week course for an hour, and it was fantastic. There we go.
Hey, I didn't even know about that. So here I am being educated again. You're such a sharer and a joyfulness of connection. And Angie, just one more time, for those people that may be budding entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that may be interested in joining Teams Global, our wonderful organization that you've created. Oh, here it is, your website. So could you just say it out loud for everyone?
Yes. So you can go to the website teams.teamsglobal.com, or alternatively, you can email Teams Spirit, so TEAMS again, PIRIT.global@gmail.com. So
Thank you.
so that's the email address.
Great. Angie, thank you so much. I'll see you back in the green room. Thank you again. I'm honored to have you as my guest tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone that came in to listen. And I wish you all the best and hope to see you all again soon. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste. So to those of you who joined us tonight, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your comments and your feedback. If you're in the group, you'll see it in my JoySpot group. If you're not, if you want to know more about it, reach out to myself. I'll let you know, give you more information. But thank you for joining us. And as I always like to say, be joyful, be connected, and shine your light. I'll see you next week.